Hi everyone, it's Dean. Dino here, and look who I have. Just happened to run into him all the way from the US.
Yes.
So Tom, you do such a big deal in the social media space.
Yes,
and,
try to.
And it's a major piece of what you do. I thought it was really interesting. So recently you've gone over to see Gary Vee and you sort of had your own deep dive, 4Ds, for your team.
Yes.
So can I ask, without going into a whole lot of detail, what were some of the wins that you hopped back into playing and went, whoa?
Sure. So just for context, I was super early on YouTube, super early on Twitter.
Yes.
I was on Friendster before I was on Facebook. I had my MySpace page. So I'm just a fan of whatever the latest and greatest tools are that allow me to connect with my audience, build more trust, bring more value, make a difference. I first met Gary in 2009.
Yeah.
I had him speak at one of my conferences. And by that point, I'd already had all the, I had all my channels already set up, and I was taking action. And he gave me a couple insights there that were super great. Right, really honing in on the value I was delivering inside my primary show, which is what I recommend for everybody. But when I just saw him recently, it was really cool because he's been doing this 4Ds or whatever the thing is. And I had just spoke at his conference and closed it out in Miami.
In Miami on the field.
Yeah, right. So I was the guy that kind of he's like, look, everyone's gonna be talking about a million things. He's like, I'll
you bring it all back in.
You bring it together as the coach and show people how to execute on it. So as a thank
nice
you,
easy,
it's what I do, right?
Yeah.
So as a thank you, he's like, well, why don't you bring your team to my office and I'll introduce them to my team that are doing similar things, and they'll just share best practices. So there was no major groundbreaking aha that came out of that. The thing that was probably
more confirmation.
Confirmation, and then it was really interesting talking to his team about like little hacks and little adjustments. It was all about the subtle little things, right? That that give you this new sort of exponential growth. So the foundation is, look, you got to over-index on the primary platforms. You got to know who your customers are, where do they operate, where are they on social media. Facebook really is the internet. Instagram has got all the eyeballs. YouTube is the greatest distribution because you've got video in this context, and I can take it and I can repurpose it on everything. If you look at what I do on the Tom Ferry Show, we shoot in YouTube, we put it on our website, it goes on YouTube, then we carve it up and we do Facebook and Insta and Twitter and everything else. Like that's the model. And I'm not saying for me as an author, speaker, thought leader, it is the model for every business on the planet today.
On that point, most of them look at that and just go, oh, where do I get started?
You hire someone that you say, your job is to create content and to edit content and to distribute content. That's your role.
So the assistant wise would be, that would be in the marketing side.
Yeah, it's a marketing director, depending upon where you are in the world, it's probably a $50,000 a year job to start. I have 3 of them. I've got 17 people on my marketing team.
17 people, yes.
At the end of the day, video is it.
Because
it's the ultimate medium.
You end up doing that also, and you're watching the background. You're always, when you're doing some of your coaching or when you're doing...
Yes.
But your coaching is quite often, I guess, internally now. Because today you said something like 176 coaches that are not mini U's, but they're the front. They're front of.
Amazing. So we actually, 3 years ago, I declared we'd be the first video-first coaching company. And you have to understand, I've been coaching over the phone before email. Right?
Okay.
I would say to a client, hey, Dean, fax me all of your KPIs and your business numbers, and I'd review their numbers in a fax, right? So when email showed up, and then Microsoft Suite of Services, then Google Suite of Services. But 3 years ago, I've been doing this for a long gray hair, 47, but started when I was 12. The deal, though, is I knew, we know, in human communication, we got 5 senses, right? And if I'm talking over the phone to somebody versus seeing them face to face, so we completely revolutionized the game of coaching. We said, it's all video first. We built a beautiful piece of software where I've got video, I've got all your KPIs, I've got all your numbers, I've got everything I need in one location, all their dashboard, if you will. So now my coaches can be anywhere, all over the world, laptop, camera, bam. Pretty cool.
How did you figure that out 3 years ago? And then since then, how's that been? Are you just fine tuning it now? Because that was a major shift.
It was interesting. So a lot of my mentors and heroes that are alive and dead are just these crazy out of the box thinkers. Some people were raised on milk and cookies and surfing and skating. I was raised on ideation, creativity, business planning, marketing. It's just, just how I was raised.
So,
for me, I'm always asking myself, how do I serve the client in a beautiful way? Like, what's the best possible experience for them, right? So if you stay in that mindset, at least my experience is, you're no longer looking at how it's convenient for you or good for you. You're only thinking of, how do I serve the customer? How do I make this beautiful for them? And from that point of view, I was like, look, over the phone is crazy. I have no idea, when I ask you a question, the impact it has on your masseter muscles, but I see you smiling now because we're face to face. When I see you smiling in video, I know what we're talking about is resonating. When I see him crying, I know that it's resonating. So video is the way. I just knew it. The harder part was taking and operationalizing, at that time, 150 coaches to convert to video, and like thousands of clients to say, we're going to video. But now,
all good.
Everybody's there, and now they're like, well, of course, that's how we've always done it.
So how would agents and agents or owners of businesses help bring video in, as far as get onto Skype, get onto Zoom?
Yeah, I mean, Zoom is a beautiful product. We used that early before we ultimately went with a platform called Twilio, just because it had a little more dynamic, a lot more features. But at the end of the day, it's like you basically just say, hey, look, from now on, we're not doing phone calls. With my associates, we're going to do video first. If we're not in the same location, what we always want to be is face to face, right? Like that's the ultimate game, be face to face. So, however that works, it's video first.
Okay.
Like we actually teach a concept now, like in marketing, it's video first marketing. Like that's how heavy we are into this.
Wow.
Like this is the way.
And on that point, we've already talked about it as, know, like, trust, as far as you can know, like, in a virtual space by the video. So that when, like you and I today, I actually met Tom for the first time, but I felt like I absolutely
we already
knew
know each other, right?
Because I've watched hundreds of hours over the period of time. So that is the same thing in that coaching. What is the number one point? Is accountability still probably the number one cracker for your coaching?
Look, at the end of the day, whether you're a parent, talking about your kids, here's what I know. I kind of live and die by, if I don't follow up, they don't follow through at their greatest potential. So if I don't follow up, they're not going to follow through at their greatest. They may do the work, but I'm going to get way more out of them. So whether I'm talking about my 17-year-old son who's a tennis player, or my 19-year-old boy who's going off to university, or 7,200 clients around the world, like accountability at the end of the day is what moves the needle, right? Like human beings, it's innate for us. We don't push ourselves, right? We get fearful, we get nervous. I've already got a bunch of money, I'm doing okay. But when you got someone that's holding your feet to the fire, and accountability is not like browbeating and being tough. It's like, Dean, I love you, bro. Like,
but because I love you, I can tell you.
You told me you wanted to do this. You're operating here, and the difference, like, what are you doing? Right? Sometimes it's just that verbal conversation that says to people, you're not allowed to get off the hook with me. Like, you got to stay in it. You got to follow your plan. You got to execute.
Keep
you
in check.
I can't do the work for you. But I can hold your feet to the fire. And then there's 26 different methodologies that we use that are these accountability tools, if you will, both language patterns and patterns of just understanding human behavior to get people out of a funk and into action and to do what they're supposed to do. And you do all that stuff and people win. But at the end of the day, it really is the key. Accountability, like if you're running a business, it's about consistency, it's about holding people accountable to their KPIs, having some cadence of your accountability. It can't be like fly in, fly out, seagull management, poop, 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 and leave, right? It's got to be like, we're going to meet every Monday at 11 o'clock. We're going to review the numbers, and we're going to set an action plan for the rest of the week, and we're going to move forward. And that's business.
So do you see any change, we talk about robots coming, and that sort of space?
I'm excited about it,
So in the coaching space, that'll actually probably in some ways, they still need humans, and we've talked about that it's creativity and curiosity and empathy are all those things that real estate agents bring to the market. And all the rest of the stuff, we can have the robots do all
We're going to outsource everything. I can't wait.
So therefore the coach, I think, even becomes more important. So you're excited about it. Obviously, you like change.
Well, but I'm also like deeply embedding machine learning, AI into my software. So the goal is, we're on a session and Dean says, hey, I'm running into this business challenge. How do I X and Y? And the machine is listening and says, 863 people have asked that question in the last 90 days, and those that chose Y got this result, and those that chose X got that result. What do you want to do? And you and the coach are listening together to Siri or Alexa or whatever you want to call it, Tommy, right? Who's just saying, based upon the collective wisdom of all of our clients, this is what works.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? Like so I'm embracing it. I'm going all in on it.
Yeah.
Because it's not the future. It's just
not
the
a
next,
little bit pregnant.
It's just the next thing. Yeah. I'm all in. All in.
Last one, in Australia. So you've been out a number of times.
Yeah.
Where do you see Australia as a kicker as far as with your agencies? What is some of the things that we bring to the world? Nice easy question to finish with.
I mean, it's a big question. So what do you guys bring to the world? Well, you guys led the way on auctions, which is now, I'm not seeing it as much in the European market, but certainly in the North American market and in the South American market, you're seeing it more and more. So kudos to you guys. Value range pricing, which you guys did 25 years ago, and you see that in luxury markets all over the world, right? So kudos. Where I think you guys have fallen short, I'm going to flip it on you, is buyer representation. And listen, this is a pet peeve of mine because at the end of the day, I'm in the client service business.
Correct.
And 50% of your transactions, right, are the buyer.
Yeah.
And you're not paying attention to it.
Good.
Right? So and it's the same thing. I see it in Europe also. Europe is like, imagine this. I'm in
Austrian and we lived in there.
Okay, so I'm in District 13 in Vienna.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nice. I ring you up and I'm like, hi, I'd like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 1-car garage. And the agent on the other phone goes, I don't have one of those. Click, and you hang up. You're like, what? Right? Like, you're an agent.
It's true.
Like, is there anything?
Absolutely.
They don't cooperate. They don't communicate. They don't work together. If you they either sell their own listing or they're out. So some friends of mine and I, we've been changing that over the last several years. And it's been getting better. There's cooperation now. And I think that's the next evolution for the Australasian market is to recognize, especially considering if you really pay attention to the data, in certain markets up to 30 and 40% of the transactions are done off market.
Yeah, true.
So they were never listed.
Yeah,
right.
Alexander Phillips is a prime example.
Exactly.
He's 105 million.
Right. So you have to look at that and say, wait a minute, like there is an opportunity.
If I don't talk to them, I'll never know about that.
Bingo.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think buyer rep is the way of the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you, Dean. Appreciate it, guys.
See ya.